Are you taking selfies while we're walking up to the racetrack? You got cameras on the front, cameras on the back?
You trying to be in it, or like, are you jealous? Like. The temperature today is, I believe, 36 degrees Celsius, plus the humidity. I know that it feels like, the last time I checked, 102 degrees Fahrenheit with the humidity. It's actually about 93 degrees. So I remember last year at our fall velocity, I didn't actually run the race because I had my motor problem. But people that were running the races, actually about 3 grown men passed out after the heat that we endured last year after one of our races, which was a 75 lap race. So hopefully this 60 lapper won't claim as many victims and nobody will have to go in the ambulance like they did last year.
So today's race format's a little different than what we're typically used to. We're into our second 60 lapper of the year. So instead of just time trialing and running 2 35 lap features spread out throughout the night, the late models are going to run 2 10-lap heat races early on in the night, qualifying like the other divisions typically do. And then at the very end of the night, they're going to run 1 60-lap feature. So that 60-lap feature in weather like today, and we're looking at 36 degrees, plus the humidex, which pushes it to the mid-40s, I believe. The sun's out, so it is hot. The racetrack's going to be hot. The cars are going to be hot. The drivers' tempers are going to be hot. It's going to be a long 60 laps. You're probably going to see some cars fall off towards the end as drivers start to get tired, exhausted, dehydrated. And regardless of how much water you take in now, I just did a little bit of work. We changed some tires and just did some setup on the car, and I'm sweating pretty heavily. It's really hot out here. The name of the game is going to be trying to keep our cool both outside of the car and certainly in our car when she's out on the racetrack.
We're doing heat races today because we're not doing our normal 35 lap double features today. We're doing 1 60 lap race.
In this heat?
In this heat. At night though, so not in the sun.
Oh, my side.
Hello. So I have a question.
Shoot.
Do the numbers matter, or are we running by percentage? Okay.
Numbers matter. That's why I'm holding the bucket so you can't see it.
Number 1. Or 31. Well, that's
31
fine.
for 2.
Well, look at all these people I'm in front of. Like.
That's good.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm at least going to be 5th from the back. It's ironic we're running heats in this heat. So we're actually going to be in the race car, in and out of the race car the same amount of times today, because we're going to have 2 heats and then 1 race, same as qualifying in 2 races. And we're going to be running for probably a little bit more laps today. We're going to be going from our 5 qualifying laps and our 70 race laps, 75 laps, and then we're going to be doing 60 race laps and then 20 total qualifying laps. So total we're going to be doing about 5 extra laps today in this heat.
Full green off the floor for 2 laps. Green, come on. Hot laps here, give it hard here. Come up from about 10 feet, you don't want to hit the rumbles.
Yeah, I think part of it being that low was kind of an accident. I'm running a lot higher and wider line going into turn 1 and 2, so coming that close to the bottom, I'm actually too close. I don't know if you notice it, but there is like bricks along the inside of the track, and those are called rumble strips because there's big breaks in between them, so it feels like that. And the car feels really, really good down there, and I like to run there, but it's really bad for the car, and it upsets the car and actually scrubs a lot of speed off. So unfortunately, I got to pull up a little bit more. It's easier for me to do in 3 and 4, but a lot more difficult for me to pull up off the rumble strips in 1, 2. It feels really comfortable, but I just got to get off them for sure. kind of getting ready was mostly the worst, but then once I got out there, it wasn't that bad. I only did a couple laps, so I know that when I go out for even my heat races, which are 10 laps each, it's going to be really, really, really hot, and hopefully we can get through at least the heats without any big wrecks or cautions, because that will be number one good at keeping us all cool if we can just run them as fast as possible. That was the best the car's been in a while.
That's it?
Yeah.
Good.
But when it's hot like this, we don't hit the bump stops.
Right.
So the bump stops, we normally hit on the left front only. I think that's where I feel it the most. We just touch on the right front, but we hit hard on the left front, and what that does, it helps the car turn. And it's also kind of essential to me, honestly, as a driver, because it also helps me with my points, my braking and my acceleration, well, my braking points. So when I hit that, I know I have to turn in for the corner, and it helps me turn a lot when I do have those. So I struggle a little bit when I don't have them, because it's definitely a huge help to have them, but we're doing good, and the car felt a lot better than it has. Not that it's been bad, but it feels even better than it has been. And I think we got a good piece for the 60 lapper tonight.
So a little different format today. They changed the race format. We're going to go back to time trials, 5-lap time trials, group qualifying, and then we'll sit to the end of the night and run a 60-lap feature. So we're eliminating the 2 10-lap heat races, which is probably, I think, in everybody's best interest. The late models have done a really good job of their time trials and running good features. So if we eliminate the 10-lap heat races and go straight to a feature, probably in everyone's best interest. Kendra, your preference?
I don't really like heats because I never was a short run car. So 10 laps just isn't enough for me. So time trials, even though that was never my forte, is definitely better than 10-lap heat.
So what's the call? What's our time trial? 8?
How many cars are there today?
14?
I think 7.
7?
6 or 7.
6 or 7. That's the call. Let's see where we are. At 36 degrees plus the humidex, which pushes it to the mid-40s, I believe. The sun's out, so it is hot. The racetrack's going to be hot. The cars are going to be hot. The drivers' tempers are going to be hot. And get after it.
I feel pretty good. I feel a little bit like sick to my stomach almost. I've been drinking a lot of water. I've been eating, making sure that I've been eating, and I've been hydrating with Pedialyte, which is an basically like a hyped up Gatorade. So I've been drinking that for the past 3 days, and hopefully that's gonna keep me good and hydrated. That's kind of all I'm focusing on right now, and then keeping cool as I can.
Step tires, let's dig all the way. Clear by 12, clear by 15. Come on.
So qualifying went okay. We qualified 10th, not where I wanted to qualify, but the track was pretty slippery, and I was really, really focused on not hitting the rumble strips on the bottom of the racetrack, and that caused me to I kind of let it get in my head, and I just didn't run a very good line. So I was a little bit tight in the center, which gave me a loose off feeling. So. Honestly, it's really hot. Like, you don't realize the heat. Like, I'm hot now, but you really don't realize it until you suit up, you have your helmet on, or wear the balaclava. Like, it's hot in there. And not only are you buckled into all this stuff. You're buckled into your seat, you're tight in there, and you're in a tight car, and there's really no air. There's no air that gets in the car. There's no breeze. And once I start racing, I'll have my visor down, like it'll be hot. So it's gonna be a tough one for sure with this heat and with the longer races, but the long races are kind of nice if you go, I'm gonna be honest, like once you're in the car and you're racing, you don't realize how hot it is and how hot you are and how hot inside your car is until you stop, until you have a caution. When you're racing, you don't feel it at all. You're so focused on racing and going quick and hitting your marks and everything else that you're not focused on how hot you are until you get cautions, until you get accidents, stuff like that, and that really throws your game off. And it's hard for a lot of people. And not only do we get hot, cars get hot, tires get hot, motors get hot, and a lot of the times motors will even overheat, especially like this. And having a built motor, not always great when you're in the heat like this. It can get a little bit hotter, but they are built to allow getting hotter and higher temperatures as opposed to the crate motors. They don't get as hot as fast, but they do have a shorter and a less temperature allowance than the built do. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, this is gonna be a rough one, but I'm excited for the challenge. What do you think? How do they look?
Thought it looked good. There was a couple times off 4. I thought you were pinching, and it looked a little free then for sure.
It was def free off 4 a few times.
Yeah. I think you could have run it up a little bit different.
Yeah. It's because I wasn't trying to hit the rumble strips. That's why.
We got 3 3/4, so I don't want to give you much more than that.
Really?
Yeah. We could check the bar.
It might be my line.
It might be.
I think I gotta go back to hitting the rumbles because I'm fast off the rumbles, but I was focusing so hard on not hitting them that I think I was throwing myself off.
Okay. When we put it down, we can check the sway bar. That right front tire is a little bit bigger than the other one was, so maybe we make a minute sway bar adjustment. That being said, we've got more fuel than we normally run because we loaded up for the 60. That'll burn down and free up the car. You were just a little snug in the center?
Yeah, I think it was mostly my line because I was so far off running what I normally was. Okay. I think we should just not do any adjustments. Maybe take like a pound or 2 or something like that out of the right front just to bring it down a little bit because I don't want it to get huge.
Yeah, let me go check that one, see where it ended up. It's a good call. I'll double check that one. So just did our 5-lap qualifying shootout. She ran, I don't know, somewhere P9, P10, which is really good. That puts her in the invert straight to the 60-lap feature. Checking the tire pressures, 5 laps is a whole lot different than running the whole 60 laps. So we've dropped a little bit of air pressure down, knowing that running 60 laps, we're gonna build up some of that heat, some of that pressure, and I think we're in a really good spot. She was comfortable with the car. She made a couple of recommendations. Kendra's been fantastic, giving me some feedback now, better than ever before, and I think she understands the racetrack better than she ever has in the past. She always gave feedback, but now it's better, and it tends to speak exactly to what the car's doing and what it looks like it's doing. So we made a couple of minor adjustments just with air pressure for the 60-lap feature. She's going to go draw her spot, and we'll see what happens for our 60-lapper tonight. Looking forward to that one.
Yeah. Nick, you go first. Oh, they're all left. Should we wait?
3 there's, 5's there.
Oh,
9's there.
I'm going first.
7's there.
I'm not showing mine until you show yours.
Okay. 5.
I got 3.
3 for 2.
Is that? Yeah, right behind you.
Nice.
Keep on the gas.
Hit me, I will literally kill you. I'm going to slam on the brakes.
98 for 5.
4125 to 46C, 9846. We got the 46s around us. I'm like, please be
There's
careful.
2 left.
Cross our fingers and just hope.
24X.
And the 10. Oh, and who else?
57.
So 3, that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy about that. I was coming down the hill and I was saying not 1 or 2 because starting on the front row is just a little bit intimidating. But I was saying anywhere from 3rd to 6th is a really good place to start. You feel comfortable, you're not in the junk. And honestly, it's just a really, really good place to start. I love the outside. but third is pretty safe on the bottom, and I got Nick behind me, so I don't think he's going to be pushing any boundaries, or he shouldn't be. So I'm comfortable with who's behind me, who's around me, and I'm really comfortable with the spot. So the fastest 4 cars start.
What'd you draw?
3.
Sweet.
The fastest 4 cars are going to start 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So that gives everybody else a really, really good shot to kind of run it out and see where we're going. It kind of just happened actually by luck that the fastest 4 are at the back, or not at the back, but 9th to 12th, because the first and second fastest are going to go 12th and 11th, and then it just so happened that the next 2 fastest cars are 10th and 9th. So we got a good spot. I'm really excited, and I'm really pumped to go start. Holdaway, Wilkinson, me, Chad, Nick, Lane, not sure, Paul, Danny, Gord, Nick. So fastest 4 are 9th to 12th.
And go, and just right at Holloway's tire tracks. 60 laps, and then on the last lap, left rear them, drive underneath them.
Okay,
Done?
okay, don't say the moves. Don't say the moves.
This shows after the feature, so we called it. Like
but I don't want, in case I have to pull that savage move, for it to know that we were conspiring
to make it happen.
Yeah.
Nice work. Hole 3, I like it.
Mom. Not great qualifying, but we drew number 3, which is awesome. So we're going to start 3rd, which is probably one of my favorite spots to start. 3rd to 6th is the best spot. I think I've said that probably 18 times this episode, but it's awesome because that's just the perfect spot to not be on the front row, but to be ahead of all of the mess. So that's going to be awesome, and I'm really excited to get this feature going. It's gonna be a hot one, Dad.
If you're not getting any water later on, you may need to push it further in, because I don't know if I'll be able to push it down through the ice.
Okay. It's amazing how hot I already am. But I'm not gonna think about it. I have a little bit of a concern with the heat, but for now we're good. I'm not stressing, and I'm excited to get out there. Hopefully we do some pretty long green runs that'll allow us to hopefully get some room on the faster guys, and to hopefully not be able to focus on the heat as much. It was a really tough race, to be honest. We fell back a lot on the start from our 3rd place because we set our air pressure so low. Well, not so low, but low enough so as the race went on, we would get a lot better. I think the car handling would have gotten a lot better as the race went on if we didn't lose our brakes, because losing our brakes really affects the way the car handles, because we can't set the car in the corner.
60 laps in the book on the hottest day of the year, with probably some of the hotter drivers out there in the feature tonight. Ran 60 laps. There was a couple of cautions. One spin, Kendra was involved in the spin halfway through. There was some aggressive driving, I think, in a couple of the spots. There's a little bit of knocking and beating and banging. Kendra ended up getting spun out about halfway through, or shortly after halfway through. Had to go to the back again. raced her way back up into 8th. She was running well inside the top 10 when that happened, which was frustrating. I mean, the car was really working well, hitting her marks, and she was gaining on a couple of the cars that were running up in front of her. So there was some leaders that were way up front, but she started 8th, fell back, started 3rd, fell back early, got shuffled out, lost a bunch of spots, but we knew the car was going to be better at the end of the race, and we weren't running for a top 5 necessarily. We were running for a 6th, 7th, 8th, which is probably where the car really belongs with the car that she's got. Anyway, fell back and started picking up spots, started moving forward, clean passes, and ended up getting spun out there, like I said, just past halfway. So I had to go to the back of the pack, made a couple of really good passes to get back up there, and unfortunately, with 3 to go, so lap 57, we got a caution, which is really terrible. There's nothing good that ever happens when you get a late race caution like that. 60 laps in almost. Kendra wasn't feeling well. She told me on the radio she was starting to feel quite ill. It's hot, and inside this car is even hotter. So it's a tough deal to run that length of time. At any rate, and with the last 3 lap shootout, got knocked around a little bit more, banged around a little bit more, and I think finished just inside the top 10 or 10th or something. I don't even know exactly where she finished.
Yeah, it was a tough race, and probably by lap 40, I was completely out of it, and I really wasn't in the zone. I was by myself, basically. I was just doing laps, and I was racing a lot easier, probably letting off 3 to 4 car lengths earlier than I normally would, just because of how soft the brakes were and how tired I was as well. I was really, really, really glad we got to almost lap 60 without another caution, and once we hit lap 57, we got a caution, and unfortunately, I just felt immediately sick. As soon as the caution came out, we all slowed down. I felt immediately sick, thought I was gonna throw up, and I kind of felt like everything was kind of not blurry, but in and out. I felt like there was almost a hole coming in on my vision. It was really weird.
By the time I came down here, she wasn't feeling well at all. So we had to help her out of the car, get some cold blankets onto her, some wet, cold towels onto her. She was actually feeling really, really ill at the time. So try and get some water into you, Kendra.
I'm gonna throw up.
I know, well then.
I already drank half a bottle of
Did
water.
you? Okay.
You're just gonna lay down right on the ramp? You don't want a blanket or anything?
Fortunately, we got some water into her, cooled her down. She's changed out of her race suit, and she's feeling better now. Hopefully it cools down, but the Weather Channel doesn't say that it's going to cool down. It's going to be a long couple of weeks here for the heat. We're going to have to work through it in the shop and then work through it at the racetrack. As you can see, I'm still hot. The sun's down, but the temperature hasn't dropped that much. It's still got to be 30 degrees here.
It all happens, and it's all good, so hopefully we get back next week, and I'm all rested up and ready to go for another night of 2 35-lap races. I'm more mad about the fact that somebody spun me out after I passed them extremely cleanly on probably lap 35. And our car was pretty good at that time. I was feeling good in the race. And they just drove it in there, honestly. Raced me with zero respect after I raced them cleanly and have been for the past 2 years. This is a repeat offense. It's not the first time this person spun me out on no reason.
Car's in decent shape. We got a couple of marks on it from running door to door, a little bump in the back, but the car's in decent shape. 60 laps, again, the hottest night of the year. Would have been nice to run 2:35s tonight, but you can't predict the weather when you make the schedule back in the beginning of the year.